Hey guys, so in this video, we're gonna talk about how to price your artwork. 99% of the time, artists always ask me, how do you price your art? And what's funny is that I had that same exact question when I first started. I had no idea where to start. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I had to start somewhere. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how you're gonna price your artwork and what you're gonna do to take the steps to elevate you to the next level. All right, first and foremost, you gotta get a feel for your market. You can't just start off blazing hot, pricing your items at a ridiculous amount. Because the first thing people are gonna ask is, who is this, Van Gogh? Who is this, Monet? And the thing is, you gotta understand that yes, you wanna get there and you will get there. But you gotta start off small and you gotta work your way up. So in the beginning, you may wanna get paid through an hourly salary. As we all do in our 9-to-5 jobs, you may wanna find a way to just get paid for every hour that you do. That's how I started off. I started off at $20 an hour and I took it from there. One piece of advice that I would give to you is when you do art, time yourself. Make sure you have a watch or a timer or your phone and just get it out and have the timer to every second and every minute that you do your paintings, because that's gonna show you how long that painting took you. If a painting is taking you 10 hours and you're just charging somebody $20, we could do the math here that you're actually losing money. You're actually not getting anything because of the materials that you had to pay to make the art will far exceed what you got in compensation for it. So make sure you understand, time your art, and then we're gonna get into the cost of supplies. So that was one thing I didn't understand at first when I first started painting was cost of materials. I didn't know my cost of goods. So when I first started, I was pricing my items at $50, $80, but with these pieces, I was taking 4 hours or 3 hours to paint, and yes, I was making around $15 to $20 an hour. But the thing is, I didn't understand that I had to calculate how much did it take me to make this piece. So I paint on wood, so you would have to calculate the wood price, you would have to calculate the materials to cut the wood, the materials to sand the wood, the materials to prep the wood, the materials to paint the wood, stain the wood, paint it, do every single thing. So everything that it takes you in order for you to paint that piece, from the pencils to the erasers to the pens and to the paint to the varnish to your equipment that you use, every single thing must be calculated. And then you break it down from how much did it actually take you to make this piece of art. Once you figure out that cost, then you can raise your prices from that point. Let's say your cost of goods is $35. It takes you $20 to buy your canvas and $15 to paint that canvas. Then that's your starting point from $35 on. You must get $35 just to break even and not even make any money. So from there, you have to evaluate how much are you going to charge beyond the $35. So like I said, you can start off at $15 an hour or $20 an hour, but make sure that you price your art in order for you to get some type of return in the beginning, because you're just gonna be spending money and not getting anything in return if you don't know your cost of goods, your hourly rates, or what you wanna get paid. So you gotta make sure that all of that is aligned in order for you to price your points in the beginning. People always ask me, what about commissions? How do you price commissions? Your commissions will always cost more than your original art. So original art is yours, it comes from the heart, it comes from your brain, but it doesn't take too much effort to create an original piece of art because that comes from within. And you already know how you want to do it, what you do. It may be challenging, but at the end of the day, this is your art and this is the art that you're pushing out into the world. When a client reaches out to you for a commission takes a little more time because there's the design process, the approval process, making sure that they like what you approve to them. And it takes a little more time and it takes a little more work because you're working around someone else's needs and not yours. So I always say, when you're pricing a commission, make sure that it costs more than your original art. And another reason why is custom. Anything custom costs more than original. Custom work takes time, it takes much dedication, and as I said before, you're taking whatever that person wants and you're trying to push it out into the world into the way you do it. So you gotta make sure you always price your commissioned work more than you do your original paintings. Once you start gaining that confidence that you can produce your originals and commission work as they come, that's when you start evaluating, should I be charging more? Should I be charging less? You start to figure that out as you go. As you gain confidence when you're knocking your originals out and you're gaining a lot more commissions, you start to evaluate your prices. And then you start to ask yourself different questions such as, what is my value? What do I bring to the table? And the more you start to ask yourself these questions, the more you start to see how much you can definitely charge people. And that's how you can charge people, through your value. And no one can tell you what your value is, because that is your value and the value that you set on yourself. Another question that you can ask yourself is, why should buyers buy from me? What makes my art more original or different than other artists? There are billions of artists out there. We all know them. Everyone is always drawing. Everyone has an Etsy account. Everyone is trying to sell their art. But what makes your art different? And why should a buyer buy it from you? And most of the time, what makes your art different is you. Not your art, but your story. The story behind what you're painting. So if that story has value, and 99.9% of the time, it definitely has value. So make sure that you pricing your art in order for you to get a profit out of it, and in order for you to sustain yourself, because you want to truly grow as an artist. You want this to eventually become a full-time. If you're not a full-time artist, you want this to be your love, your passion. So make sure that you're getting paid well for what you're producing. And when you ask yourself what makes you different from other artists, it's not a position for you to try to hate on other artists. I don't want anyone to hate on anyone else. I love working with other artists, or actually seeing other artists, because I gain a lot of my inspiration from seeing others produce what they produce. But it's a self-reflection as to say, what makes me different? What makes me different, and why should I be getting paid X amount of dollars for what I'm producing? And the more you know these answers, the more value you're gonna find, and the more confidence you're gonna gain in order for you to price your art in the way you wanna price it. And when you get to that position that you wanna start pricing your artwork, no matter what you see out there, no matter what it is, your price is your price. Don't lower your price because somebody else is selling lower, and don't make your prices higher because somebody else is selling higher. This is your marathon, not anyone else's. You run your race the way you want to run it. You can grow from there, or if you have a self-reflection that you want to lower your prices for whatever reason, I don't advise of that. But if you do, by all means, go ahead, you can do it. You could even run a sale on your art, not to reduce your value, but just to run a sale to get art out there. And then you can reevaluate, delete that sale, and then you can start fresh. But my opinion is, don't lower your value because that's your value. Only grow from there, because I want you to be successful. Another question to ask is, who do you want to sell your art to? Do you want to sell it to low class, middle class, or high class? That will give you a price range to see how you want to price your art. Just because other people are selling their works for thousands of dollars doesn't mean that you have to sell your work for thousands of dollars. If you feel comfortable at a price range of $200, $300, $400, whatever it is for you, you sell your price work at that comfortable spot. If you do not feel comfortable and you know that you're worth more, well, then that's your answer. Your answer is to raise your prices. You must raise your prices in order for you to feel comfortable, to sustain yourself, and to get to that next level that you want to get to. You don't want to be in a position where you're resentful of what you're doing. You don't want to feel like you're working and you're not getting paid for your value and what you're putting out there. So make sure that you're pricing your art at a right price point for you, for your life, and for the sustainability of your art career. When you figure out that price point, make sure you stay consistent with that price throughout all your pieces. One way you can do it is make sure that you have a pricing chart of the different sizes that you offer. Stay consistent with the prices that you offer for different size canvases. This allows you to truly see and evaluate how you want to price your work in order for you to grow from there. So if you're pricing a 9x12 for $300, and then you're pricing another 9x12 for $250, but there's no reason why you're pricing it at that fluctuation It truly doesn't make any sense. So try to stay consistent with that. You want to stay consistent with raising your price points. So if you feel that you want to raise your price points, don't raise them every week or don't raise them every month. Try to stay consistent with every 6 months or every year or every 2 years, whichever you feel most comfortable with. Raise them at that comfortability, because you need to understand that when your prices start fluctuating like this, people will start to say, what is going on? You don't want to confuse your buyers, and you don't want to confuse the people that you're selling art to. So make sure you stay consistent, see your value, see your worth, and you start pushing your work out there little by little every single time, and then you start to see the people that come to you. One thing you're going to run into is people saying that your work costs too much if you start raising your prices. But that's okay. Don't let them intimidate you, and don't let them try to lower your prices. Your prices are your prices. A lot of the time people are gonna say, oh, well, if you could do it for this price, if you could do it for that price. Well, at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's your business, it's what you want to do. I don't advise against that. Of course, you can work with people and accommodate in a way where if someone doesn't have a budget of X amount of dollars, but they have a budget of this amount of dollars, well, what you can do is you can say, well, I can give you a smaller canvas for that price, and you can accommodate their needs. So make sure that you can accommodate somebody's needs for their budget. You can work with people, but don't lower your value because people think your prices are too high. Another thing you're going to experience is drought. Most of the artists experience drought for long periods of time, maybe for a month, maybe for 2 months, and that gets difficult. But don't let that deter you from lowering your prices. You got to stay strong and keep going. One thing that you can do is raise your marketing efforts through social media, through all of your platforms, through YouTube. Make sure that you use every single platform that you possibly can to get your work out there, to show people, give an explanation of your work, show some detailed shots of your work. Sometimes art does not seem very visible and clear from pictures, so make sure you give people clear explanations as to what they want to buy and what they're gonna do. Another thing that you can do is join art fairs. Art fairs allow people to see your work in person and to actually get an understanding as to what they're buying. A lot of people like to get that understanding of art, to see what they're buying. They like to meet the artist. So make sure that when you're posting yourself on social media, when you're speaking with clients, make sure that you give them who you are. Because most of the time people want to buy art from you, not just from anyone else, because the art is great, but the story behind it is what matters most. So to cap it off, don't let anyone tell you what your worth is. Your worth is your worth. Your value is yours. Don't let anyone tell you that you're too high or you're too low. Yours is what it is for you, and don't let anyone change that for you, because then you start losing yourself. Once you start building that confidence, you're gonna start to see that people will start buying your work, and it's no different from somebody paying $2,000 for a piece or $200 for a piece. It's to who you're selling it to. If people see that story, people see your value, people see that worth, they're gonna buy your art. So make sure that you stay consistent with that, and make sure you keep that confidence up and that level of discipline to make sure that you selling your art to the price point that you want to sell it at. If you like this video, make sure that you subscribe and stay tuned for more. Thanks.